Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are in the middle of round one, and it has been a really entertaining playoff so far. We've had a couple more games since our last episode. I'm gonna throw it to you. Where do you want to start with dissecting some of these games that have gone by?
Um, I guess the only series we aren't going to have as much to talk about since the last episode is Winnipeg St. Louis because they did have a couple of days off, but we do
Right.
get to see more action of that one tonight. Um, since that's when we got the least, we might as well kind of just go over that one quickly. Game 3 will take place later tonight. Must win game for St. Louis at this point. As good as this team is, if you go down 3-0 to Winnipeg, I don't see a world in which he can pull off the reverse sweep. Not to say it's impossible, but
It would have to be
very,
an
very
incredible
unlikely.
collapse by the Jets. Like at that point, it's out of your hands to beat them, and it's kind of also would be in their hands to lose 4 in a row.
Yeah. So looking forward to that one. Both teams again have looked really good in this series. Both games have been um, very entertaining to watch. So definitely looking forward to that one. But again, don't really have much to talk about with it. Is we haven't had anything take place since the last episode. So probably the least exciting series, in my opinion. Carolina, New Jersey. Might as well start off there.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that about the Jets Blues, and I was like, even though it's 2-0, it was still pretty close, pretty entertaining. So,
No, I know
um,
those. I've been enjoying that series, but Carolina, New Jersey is literally going pretty much the exact way we've kind of expected it to so far.
yeah,
I think it's safe
yeah,
to say.
yeah. New Jersey isn't. They've got a couple of heavier guys, but outside those guys, they have a lot of guys that are like I don't quite want to say soft, but they're not playoff level physicality guys, and yeah, they're getting kind of beat up. They've already got a few injuries now, and on top of that, it's the Hurricanes are a very good team. They're just getting outclassed at the moment. Like losing a guy like Jack Hughes is borderline impossible for almost any team to overcome. So yeah, this is kind of what we expected. Like I will say Jacob Markstrom has been incredible for the Devils.
He's been very, very good.
They went out, very the opposite of the Oilers. They identified the problem. We need a goalie. They went out and got him, and in the playoffs, he's delivering. Like, unfortunately, it just looks like this isn't going to be their year. But that sets them up pretty good for next year, especially if Markstrom can stay that good. I'm not sure exactly how old he is. I think he's 33. But if nothing else, it shows that management is willing to go out and get those pieces that you need to
Yeah.
keep contending and keep trying to win. So
Yeah, and I mean with New Jersey, right? Like the only thing they really need to address is pretty much up front. Um, I mean, you look at the goaltending with Markstrom, you're fine there. The defense, I mean, is pretty injured right now. They got a lot of banged up guys, but when healthy, I think it's one of the best decors in the league from your top guy down to your seventh or eighth guy even. It's really just the forwards that you'd like to be a little bit deeper up front. Um, but again, like you can never go into a season being like, oh, if Jack Hughes gets injured again, we've got this and this. Like you need to have a deep forward core regardless. One thing I will say about New Jersey is going back to the trade deadline, we were talking about all of these different moves and whether we liked them or not. And the one move that we couldn't get away from, that we couldn't make sense of, was New Jersey going out and getting Brian Dumoulin from Anaheim.
right.
We just were like, they've got so many defensemen. This just doesn't make sense. And clearly, Brian Dumoulin was exactly who New Jersey wanted, as he logged the most time on ice in game one for the team with 24 minutes and 50 seconds. Obviously, number a little bit inflated there because uh, Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon going down in that game. But game two played 23 minutes and 48 seconds. That was second on the team. only behind Dougie Hamilton. 11 seconds more he played. So a guy that we were wondering why New Jersey went after, he's playing the most minutes for the team so far through games 1 and 2 of the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Like, people will often look at, the counting stats, the goals, the points, all that, but, time played for a team does matter, especially for a defenseman. So, if they're getting their value out of it, I mean, good for them. It's still kind of weird with their whole defensive situation, but if they like the fit, they like the fit, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, other than that, with New Jersey, it's this is where we expect them to be again. You take any team in this league, and it's like going to the playoffs without your best forward, your best player, the guy who drives the team and the offense. Like there's only so much you can do, and I think New Jersey's still done a decent job. Again, I didn't catch much of game 1, but in game 2, I mean, you got the first goal of the game. You needed to just capitalize on that momentum and keep going. And even that, it was a 2-1 game, and you had lots of chances to tie it up late in the game and up until the empty netters. So it's again, it's exactly where we expect them to be. They're down 2-0 in the series, but it's not like they're getting throttled, and it's like they're just getting embarrassed out there. Like it's still a close series, and they play tonight, right?
I
No, they
believe
don't.
they
They
don't.
don't.
Okay.
They're one of those teams that gets 2 days off. So they'll play tomorrow, so we'll wait and see what happens there, but, I mean, right now, Carolina's just looking exactly the way we expected them to. Just
Yeah.
so good in all ends of the ice, pretty much.
The Devils really aren't playing that bad. They just kind of look outclassed in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sucks, but they've got a really good young team. Like, even if they get swept here, that's you just kind of reload, get ready for next season. I think they're one of the teams. I think they feel a decent amount of pressure, but I think they're one of the teams in the playoffs that should feel some of the least pressure this
Yeah.
season. Possibly
I
the
I I would
team
agree.
with the least pressure. Like, maybe who would even have less pressure on them? I guess the Canadians probably, and then
Ottawa.
maybe Ottawa. I would probably put Ottawa pretty close to them, honestly.
Yeah.
But
The biggest thing is, like, if you had Jack Hughes, there's gonna be more pressure, but again, when you're without your best player, no one can really put much on you and expect much out of you because, again, it's again, McDavid's a completely different player than Jack Hughes, but you take McDavid off Edmonton, you take Kucherov off Tampa, you take Barkov off Florida, like, you're not expecting as much out of those teams. Maybe you're still expecting them to do good and the rest of the team to pick it up, but it's just so tough without your number one guy.
yeah,
And you look at Dallas, you could argue they're missing their best forward. They're definitely missing their best defenseman. And
yeah,
we'll get into that series more in a little bit, but they're up 2-1 because they've got such a deep team where even without those top guys, it's next man up mentality. And you've got so many guys that are able to do that. Whereas with New Jersey, it's you know, 2, maybe 3 guys that you can rely on to do that.
yeah. There's not a ton of guys that they have that they can rely on for offense. Like, for such an exciting, young, fast team, they sure have the defense and the goalie locked in, and need to figure out a little bit more forward depth.
Yeah. Even just having one more, top 6 forward in the mix there, um, could just drastically, change this team, in this position without a Jack Hughes. But again, you just don't have as many guys that I think have the capability of stepping up and, taking charge in that way of generating offense. So,
Jesper
but
Bratt's
again,
doing his best.
yeah,
He's
Jesper Bratt's
trying.
the obviously the big one. He's doing what he can, and again, New Jersey down 2-0. Carolina's obviously been the better team this series, but
Yeah, not to take anything
it's
away
not
from
over.
Carolina. Like
Yeah.
they're not beating a wounded animal or anything like drastic, right? But
Mhm.
they've been playing incredibly solidly, and they are playing quintessential Hurricanes hockey in these
Yeah.
games. Like they are putting up just a staggering amount of shots. They are one of the teams that the most noticeably around the league. They constantly just get it back to the point and just bomb it at the net, and they go for rebounds, and they, if not, they just go back, they throw it back, they do it again. Like they love those plays, and they get a lot of points out of their defensemen because of it, and they get a lot of shots because of it.
Yeah, and Freddie Anderson has looked terrific in both games, only allowing 2 goals so far in the series. 1.0 goals against and a 960 save percentage. So um, that was a big thing with Carolina was, we know how good Freddie Anderson is, but it's, can he stay healthy? Can he stay consistent? As, goaltending has always kind of been something that's been good for Carolina in the regular season, but come playoffs, it always is. You never know what you're going to get type of thing. And
Yeah,
so far, it's been terrific for them. And that's not only how good Anderson's been playing, but the just really solid defensive game that the Hurricanes have been playing. Like, again, like you said, they're playing typical Carolina hockey, and this is exactly what they go out there and do. And they're doing it like to perfection so far.
yeah. In that, I'm trying to find the exact number. Yeah, in that first game, they had 44 shots against on Markstrom. Like Markstrom let in
Yeah.
3 goals, and he still ended up with a 932 because they just had that many shots. Like they're
Both
just
goal both goalies are playing great. They're both top 4 in save percentage so far in the playoffs. So it's a goaltending duel.
yeah, like that's pretty impressive. They've got a goal for Carolina from a defenseman in each of the 2 games so far. One from who is it, Jalen Chatfield, and one from
Gostisbehere, I
Gostisbehere
believe.
was the other one. I'm pretty sure it was. Yes, it was last night. Not last night.
And
Last game.
the crazy part is with Carolina is like how good they've been looking already. They still kind of have that like, that ace up their sleeve in Alexander Nikishin, who's yet to play. So, having a weapon like that who I think in most people, kind of the general consensus among most people is like, throughout the season, he was the best defenseman in the world not playing in the NHL. So to have that now, you know, that you haven't even deployed yet, that's still an unknown and you can pull that out at any point is got to be, pretty exciting for them as well.
Well, yeah, like having that kind of guy on the bench at the moment is like, yet if they get a big injury, and it's like, a guy like Brent Burns, say he goes down, it's like, damn, that like normally that's a huge loss. You might be getting an upgrade almost
Yeah.
at this point
Yeah.
with him coming in. So like to have that level of stability, like, not just guys like Jack Hughes, but most teams, a guy goes down, it really messes up the depth chart, and it really messes up the lines and stuff. Like
Hmm.
if you got a guy like him that you can just plug in kind of wherever you want on the decor, that's really nice. It's got a
Yeah.
real good outlook for the Hurricanes. I think this is the first year where it feels like a lot of people gave up on the Hurricanes. It really
Um,
feels like
and,
a lot
and
of
and
people have thought
in
they were one
fairness,
of.
I can see why though.
100%. I did too. I actually
Yeah.
kind of gave up on them 1 or 2 seasons ago because they've reached, the second, third round so many times, and they always fizzle out. And when they lose, it's not like bad bounces. It's like usually they're getting not quite dominated, but they are beaten handily. Like
Yeah.
they lose the series.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like this team really doesn't just have that it factor, that whatever that gets you to the next level to win the cup. And despite being a very good team, so many people are kind of out on them as a cup favorite. But that's that's kind of when we see these teams step up and finally push through. So you know what? It it wouldn't be incredibly shocking to see them make a really big run out of
On
it
a
this
real
year.
deep run. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Um, let's move on from that series. We'll know a bit more next week where it's looking like if again New Jersey makes something out of this, or if Carolina kind of keeps on the same wagon. I'll throw it to you. What series do you want to move on to next year?
I mean, we might as well talk about the other team in the Metro in the playoffs. Let's talk about Washington, Montreal.
Washington, Montreal. So only one game has happened since last episode, and that is Washington winning game two by a score of 3-1, and basically 2-1. Connor McMichael gets an empty netter with 2 seconds left. Um, again, this was another close game. It's one of those ones where Montreal is able to hang right in there with Washington. Washington's not rolling over them, but it's more of the veteran and experience that Washington has that is kind of what is able to put them over in this game. They're able to kind of more than anything hold on to a lead this time, and um, they're basically the majority of the second period and the entire third period. They were able to lock it down this time and not piss away a lead again. So that's got to feel good for Washington. But again, Montreal, you are down 2-0, but you're going back home to what's going to be. Again, I'll keep saying it, what's probably going to be the loudest building in the entirety of the playoffs this year, and you're never in trouble until you lose on home ice. So Montreal still got a good chance of getting a game back or two here at home.
Yeah. Yeah, they're man, that building is gonna absolutely erupt. Like it's crazy because they kind of snuck in the 2020 season and end up going all the way to the cup finals, but it really does feel like we haven't got to see playoff Montreal in so long. And I guess part of that is also even for that run, obviously COVID and all that. So, you got some people in the buildings, but not a ton. But man, that arena is gonna just be awful to play in for the visiting teams. And I I kind of expect them to win game three. I really do. I think they've held in close enough that this is a tight enough series that I think this really is a team that very visibly plays different at home versus away games. And
Mhm.
I think I don't know if they're going to win both, but I think they're going to win probably game three at least.
Yeah, like I'm not going to say I'm expecting them to win game three, um, it's one of those ones where I'm definitely not, as opposed to games one and two, I was pretty kind of like on the train of like, oh, Washington's got this, like, you know. But I'm definitely, especially because it's in Montreal, I'm nowhere near as confident in Washington being a sure thing to win. I definitely think again, it's one of those things, like we talked about with St. Louis, is it is only game three, but for Montreal, it really kind of is a do or die game. Like you got to come out with a win here in game three. If you don't, again, you're probably not pulling off the reverse sweep, especially on this Washington team. Whereas even if you're going back to Washington, you're down 3-1. It's a comeback is way more likely. If as opposed to if you're down 3-0 at one point. So, but again, I've liked what we've seen from Montreal. This is exactly kind of where this series is. Like we weren't, it was one of those ones where Washington's the big favorite, but you weren't expecting them to steamroll Montreal. It was going to be close games. It was going to be, again, just that experience from Washington that is basically what put them over at the end of the day in these two games.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
pretty
that's no fault
much.
of Montreal's. Like
No, you got to
Montreal's a
start
new
somewhere.
team, and in 5 years, Montreal's probably going to be that team that's going to have that experience over maybe Detroit and Buffalo if we get them in the playoffs one day. Um, so Montreal's time's coming, and again, the biggest thing was you made it in the playoffs. You're getting that experience for all of these young guys. So just enjoy the ride right now.
Yeah,
Just be
yeah,
happy
that's
you're still watching games at this point. If you're Montreal players, be happy you're playing games at this point because you've already exceeded everyone's expectations that they had for you going into this year. Anything you do now is just extra gravy you're slapping around on top.
yeah, yeah. Like they don't need to worry about it. Like they're totally playing with house money. Um, One thing that I do want to say about this series is I'm seeing a lot of people saying, Logan Thompson has been the best player for the Washington Capitals so far. Alex Ovechkin been the best player for the Capitals so far. Um, People need to start putting some respect on Dylan Strome, man. He's got 6 points when, or five, no, he's got 4 points when the Capitals have scored 6 goals in total in the series so far. He got 3 assists on all 3 goals in the first game and a goal in the last one.
Game winning goal
This,
in game 2.
yeah,
Most
game
important
winning
goal.
goal, and he's driving so much of that play. Like it, it really, it's one of those moments where like as soon as people are saying like Ovechkin's more noticeable out there than Strome, it's like it's one of those moments where it really feels like I don't know if you actually watched the game, or if you just
Mhm.
read the score and that's it. Like the way Strome sets up plays and moves around the ice, he really feels like the straw that stirs the drink in Washington right now. And I just feel like he's been for a lot of the season's been kind of disrespected. He's had a fantastic year.
Yeah, he's been absolutely great, and I completely agree. I think he is kind of the driving force behind um, Washington's offense. Like 100%. You know that's I think we're kind of at the point, at least for me and for you. It's what we're expecting now. Is if there's going to be someone out there that you're looking for to kind of generate offense, it's most likely going to come from Dylan Strome. Obviously, in most cases, Ovechkin's the one getting the goal, but you got to look at who's creating the plays from, whatever that is. I believe it was in game 2 between Colorado and Dallas. Um, the third goal, Dadonov got the goal there, assisted by Wyatt Johnston. Jamie Benn doesn't get an assist, but the whole goal was created because of him, because of his forecheck, just getting in on the loose puck and just hitting down low and creating havoc. And the puck gets out loose, and then Dallas scores. So Jamie Benn doesn't get a point for it, but he created that entire play and is the sole reason that Dallas even got that opportunity to score. And then obviously, Dadonov gets the goal, but again, it's Jamie Benn who creates it, and that's kind of what Dylan Strome does is he generates the offense for that team and in whatever way he wants to do it. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I yeah, couldn't agree
Yeah.
more.
But that being said, I really don't have much more to say on this series so far. Like
Did you see
the
Logan Thompson's interview after
I
the
did
game
not.
yesterday?
I
Oh,
did
he
not.
was he was with Dylan Strome, and you can kind of tell that like I think Logan Thompson's just kind of locked in and like just focused. He's not even really caring about. Well, I don't want to say not caring, but he's not really paying too much attention to the media. Like he's just you can see when he's out there, he's locked in, he's in the zone. And in his post game interview, he's talking about the game and whatnot. And then at the end, he said he was happy they're able to get the 2 points. And then Dylan Strome was like, "No, it's playoffs. There's no 2 points." And then Thompson's like, "Oh yeah, well we got the win." And you can kind of tell
Yeah.
he's just so locked in. Like it's just he's just playing hockey. Basically, it feels like he's just out there
Yeah.
doing his thing, and eventually he'll probably sit there and be like, "Oh, if they go all the way to the cup final," he's like, "Oh fuck, we're in the cup final." Like I've just been playing hockey and having fun.
And
But I
and
thought that was a
that's
really,
all you
really
need.
funny interview. Yeah,
Like
that's what you want from your goalie, right?
less than any other position, or I guess more than any other position, like you just don't need to focus on game, like, game state. There's the whole, at the start of a series, you kind of want to play physical, but you got to play good defense. You don't want to give them momentum, but you want to set the tone. You want to set the pace, let them know you won't be pushed around. There's times where you got to try and generate the offense, times you got to try and be more physical or be defensive. There's all kinds of stuff like that. You got to sometimes play a little dirty, sometimes you got to really clean it up. Goaltenders, you don't got to worry about any of that shit. Okay? You know what you do? You go stand in the crease and you stop the puck. So you know what?
Yeah.
If your goalie's just sitting there and he's not even thinking about it, he's just dialed, and he's always worried about the next shot, and that's it. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Um,
Oh, actually,
moving on to the
I do actually have one other thing that I forgot about that I want to mention. Um, it's happened across a couple of series now. The most noticeable one for me happened in game 2 of this series. I don't even remember who committed the infraction, but the Canadiens player, trying to find Montreal's list, Cole Caulfield, he got hit in the mouth with a nasty cross check right in front of the ref. The ref was staring right at it, and I just could not believe they didn't call a penalty on that. I haven't heard if there's going to be any supplemental discipline. Probably not, I imagine, of course. But man, that was just vicious. Like, that's fucked up. Like, these refs got to start calling it. I don't remember the other two intimately. I think one of them happened in the Toronto-Ottawa game 1. But apparently this is the third really bad cross-check to the face that has just gone completely uncalled. And there's all this other stuff. You want to say it's the playoffs. Don't crack down as much on roughing, on slashing, hooking, tripping, whatever. That's fine. If they let a couple trippings go on either side, I don't think anybody's complaining that much. But one of your best players, an undersized player as well, just eating fiberglass because another dude just absolutely crushed him with a cross check. Ref, you gotta freaking call that. Like, that's dangerous. That's not fun to watch. And it wasn't very close to the play either. I don't believe the puck was
I think
very
the
much
puck
in
like
the
just
area
left
anymore. It
the
was,
scrum that was happening out front. Yeah,
yeah.
but like the puck was long gone. Yeah, with these refs, it really kind of feels like you either get refs that are calling everything or refs that are calling like nothing. There's no. It doesn't really feel like there's like a in between. Um, but yeah, I did get the chance to see the cross check, and I'm always on the side of you never get special treatment if you're a smaller player or anything, or if you're a bigger player. But a
Yeah.
cross check to the face, like I don't know how you don't call that.
It
It's
it's crazy. Like, you know, I get it. The cross checking is a bit of a part of hockey with, hitting guys from behind in front of the net, kind of creating space, stuff like that. This was hardly even a hockey play, man. Like, just right in the face. And like I hate watching the replay because there's such a good angle of the refs just staring at it the whole time. And you can see him notice that it happens. You can see his eyes and his eyebrows kind of be like, oh, fuck, there's one of those. And he
mhm.
doesn't even think about putting his arm up
Yeah.
because
The only reason,
playoffs.
yeah, that is the angle I saw. The only reason I could think of that, maybe they didn't call it. And again, I don't know because I don't watch enough Montreal games. But if Caulfield has a history of diving
And I
and
really don't think he does.
flopping, I don't think he does. But if anyone knows and can clarify for us, that'd be awesome. But that's kind of the only thing I could think of for why the ref wouldn't, because it's just he's got such a clear view of it. And it's like, how do you not?
Yeah.
How do you
I think
not
it,
call that?
I kind of want to say it might be one of those situations where he's a young guy and the ref's kind of like, you take your lumps in your first few playoff runs. And it's like, Man, how about you just call the rule
Nah,
book?
I don't think that's
I hope
I
it's
don't
not
think
that.
that's it.
And I
No.
normally I would kind of think it's that. I don't in this case because there's been a few other instances throughout the playoffs that have gone uncalled. I kind of want to say was it Max Domi who got cross-checked by somebody on the Senators in game 1. He kind of went into the corner to make a hit and the guy just kind of threw the stick up in his face in defense and cross-checked him in the face.
Um, I'm not
And
100%
that one
sure.
went uncalled. There's a couple other ones people have been pointing out, but it's so weird because you are so right on the money with the reffing being like sometimes it's good or sometimes it's call everything, sometimes it's call nothing. And it sucks because the call everything games are just
Annoying,
better.
honestly.
They're not as fun to watch as a neutral fan, but as a fan of either team, I think they are more fun to watch because those games don't get out of hand. Those aren't the games that are, you know, everybody's going around in like they were not calling enough in the game 1 of the Tampa Florida series and like there was some dirty shit going on out there and like that was, you know, not fun, not very fun to watch. Like the refs need to actually call the rule book.
Oh,
And
we can dive into that series now. We can move from the Washington Montreal. We can talk about the Florida Tampa one. Is we've only got one game down in in that one compared to the rest.
yeah, game
Um,
2 being played tonight.
I'll let you kind of take the floor with this one from game one. You kind
Yeah,
of give
I
me
mean,
your thoughts.
yeah, I mean, I'll definitely need you to chime in a good bit just because uh a lot of it's going to be, you know, biased. I'm a human being who cheers for one of the teams. Um it's I mean, so first of all, there are quite a few people being like, "Man, Fassi really let the team down." You know, Florida. What was the final score? 6-2.
6-2,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, okay, those first two goals. Who was stopping that? Fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi, maybe. Like the
Hmm.
puck literally just goes flying in like a football pass, and Bennett smacks it out of the air and in. Okay, sure. A shot that's going 4 feet wide, and then Reinhardt tips it in on an insane angle. I mean, like, fuck. I mean, how do you stop that? Like, that's nuts. That
Yeah.
that should have been hitting the corner of the boards. And then 2 power play goals that our power play just played abysmally after being so good all season. Like, at most, I put 2 of the goals on Vasi. That's it. And our defense really didn't show up for him. But man, it's really hard not to sit here and talk about so far the kind of narrative of the series is Florida's going out there and trying to injure guys. They have a couple of guys that are fucking headhunting and playing real dirty. And you know what? To his credit, Sam Bennett was not one of the top guys doing that. He had a couple of big hits, but I didn't notice him being incredibly dirty. In fact, there was one time where he had point right in the numbers and he visibly let up. He
Hmm.
he could have drove him into the boards and he purposefully didn't. And, you know, meanwhile, Matthew Kachuk, like, he was out there. He is hitting guys from behind. He was throwing a couple of extra elbows. And, uh, yeah, the refs, the refs just didn't call very much. And, yeah, it wasn't very fun to watch from a Lightning fan perspective because our guys also didn't, you know, not only does it suck to see that happen to your guys, but our guys really didn't answer the call to battle. None of them really stood up and took much exception to it in a consistent or noticeable way.
Yeah. I think that's overall a pretty fair assessment. It is funny. Matthew Kachuk was credited with 0 hits in the game. Um, but again, a lot of it's such a weird criteria for hits. Like
Yeah, like he literally took a penalty
It's so weird how
laying a hit
they
at one point on Kucherov.
credit
So,
them. Yeah, I
even
mean,
if it's not
it's
if it's technically like an illegal hit, I believe they ended up calling it roughing, even though it was a hit from behind. You know,
yeah,
you you still credit a hit. I guess you don't want to credit the guy, but like it's a hit. It's not a goal on the
yeah,
score sheet. Like you literally showing up on the score sheet, but yeah,
yeah. I don't
it
think
was so weird.
Vasilevsky had a bad game, but it definitely
He definitely didn't have
was
a
probably
Vasilevsky playoff
one of
game.
his top 5 worst playoff games of all time. Um, and yeah, the biggest thing was, Tampa's penalty kill. Florida went 3 for 3 on the power play. John Cooper really kind of,
Yeah, we
cucked the
also
team with that coach's challenge that um
yeah, it's been a long time since it felt like the coaching staff kind of screwed us as well. And you know, you go down. What would it have been? 3-1 after that goal. There was over half of the game left. I believe there was about 13 minutes left in the second. Like more than half of the game left to play, and you challenge that, it upstands because of course it does. Like there was a Florida Panthers stick in Vasilevsky's arm. I get it. And if there was any plausible deniability, I would be sitting here saying that it should have been waved off. That it was on the side that it could have held Vasi from getting over. The thing is, his arm or leg didn't in time move over to the left side to get that puck. So if he did try and then got held back, then I could see it. But he didn't see it or react in time or whatever to even try that. So I'm really shocked that he challenged that, and now we're down 3-1. They score on the power play. Now it's 4-1. Now it's a lot. That's a lot harder to crawl out of.
I mean, yeah, it was a tough spot the team got put in when the penalty kill needed to be relied on to you know bail the team out. Unfortunately, wasn't able to. As Florida did go 3 for 3 on the power plays in that game. Um, I think the best part, at least for Tampa, is it's one game. It's game one. You've got a
The
chance now
score
tonight to
doesn't quite reflect the entire game, which
yeah.
does feel good. Like, what should we have lost? Absolutely. Did we get pummeled the way 6-2 looks? Not really. Like,
You
you know,
outshot him 22-17.
yeah, like two, you know, I'll call them goofy goals because they're like insane tips out of the air, but also they do take skill. Like I'm not taking away from their guys, but like two goals that are pretty hard to replicate, and also just what are a lot of guys supposed to do except for make sure they're not in a position to make that play in the future. And
Yeah.
then yeah, 3 goals on the power play. Some rough stuff going on. Chernak left the game for a bit, and then I believe he came back. Sorelli left the game for a bit, came back. He is a game time decision tonight. Uh, Sorelli's going to be a huge loss if he can't play. So we'll see if he does. But I I need to see this team be more physical. Florida is
Yeah.
the hardest hitting team in the league. Is that a fair assessment?
I think so. Yeah.
At minimum, they're one of,
Yeah.
and you don't have to beat the shit out of them, but you got to match what they're doing at the least. And they they came out there and our guys just kept taking it. And the worst part is they were trying to get the NHL equivalent of an advantage when you're being physical, and that's wearing the other team down. But they got better than that, than what they tried to do. They got bantam, like junior hockey level physicality rewards, and that is they got us scared. They got a couple of us scared. Noticeably, I hate to call guys out, but I was telling you about it. But Lilleberg and Perbix were afraid of the Panthers. And they both had several turnovers throughout the game because a guy came in to forecheck them and they went, fuck, don't do it again. Don't hit me. And they threw the puck to a stupid spot. And I know at least one of them led to a goal. I know Lilleberg took at least one bad penalty because he was probably told to be physical and he went out there and just blatantly hit a guy who didn't have the puck. He looked like he was playing freaking Chell. Like, uh, if you would have asked almost any Lightning fan before this series, where's your biggest concern? They either say in general the bottom six forwards, or they say Perbix or Lilleberg.
Yeah.
And uh, yeah, we've got a couple of decent guys in the AHL. I don't know if we're allowed to call them up, but one or two more games like that, and I you're probably going from playing the seven defense, 11 forwards to 6 defense, and maybe even bringing in a new defense for that 6th spot, because both of them were brutal.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
brutal, and they
I
need to
definitely,
clean
yeah,
that
I
up.
definitely don't think they had um the strongest of game, but again, it's one of those ones where it is 6-2, but again, I don't feel like the score was necessarily indicative of the game. I think the game kind of just spiraled, and Florida got a couple quick ones, and like you mentioned, a couple of goals that they're not going to be getting every game. Like, you're not going to be getting those insane deflections and those
Yeah.
batting
The
pucks out
second
of the
one
net
you could
every game.
try and
So
recreate, but like that's
it could have
crazy to
been
try.
a
That first one
set
nobody
play,
could do
but
again. Like that's wild. That
yeah.
like that first one is just like it just goes flying out in front. As soon as I saw it in the air, I was like, this fucker's gonna hit it and it's just gonna go into the net. Like
Hmm.
that's there is some like Black Mirror fucked up world where like that becomes like the meta in the NHL. And it's like everyone's taking high sticking penalties because guys are flipping the puck through, and like on the power play, Kucherov's going far side to Stamkos, but he's doing it in the air and he's baseball swinging at it every time.
Yeah, yeah,
So thank God it's hard enough to do that. That's not the norm. But I'm excited for this next game, and I'm hoping we can bounce back.
yeah, yeah. This is a big game, and again, you know, Florida is the defending champs, but Tampa does have so many guys with experience. They've got a bunch of two-time Stanley Cup champ winners. They know how to overcome adversity, and uh, this is going to be the big game to go out there and prove it now. And um, they're definitely more than capable of being able to do that. So I don't really have much more to add in the series, but again, yeah, I'm looking forward to game 2, and I do expect a much better result for Tampa than what we got in game 1.
Yeah. Another guy that was very noticeable out there for, I would say good and bad reasons, but I'll just say good reasons. At least for Florida fans, Sam Reinhart. Watching him play is so funny because you know those guys that you can just tell when the coach they got off the bench last shift, and the coach was like, "Hey, how about you go fucking hit somebody?" And then he's out there like a wrecking ball the next shift.
Yeah.
Well, there was clearly a point, I believe it was late in the first or early in the second, where that top line was told, go fucking hit anybody that moves. Matthew Kachuk wrecking ball. I don't know if it was Barkov out there at the time, but whoever centerman just hitting everything that moves. Reinhardt, he was so funny to watch because every time he would only commit to a hit when he knew a guy threw the puck away too early. So he would like literally just like stand up straight and glide into him, and like the guy didn't have to prep for the hit. He literally just bump into them, and he did it like 3 times in a row, and it was so funny to watch. I think he scored a goal 1 or 2 shifts later. Um I think it was in the first, cuz I think he scored that tip not too long after. But it was so funny to watch him like, "Don't worry, coach, I'm doing it," and kind of reach arms out and gently push the defenseman.
Yeah.
There, not take it away from him. Like it was just funny to watch. He was still very noticeable and very effective out there.
Yeah.
But it's funny because that's blatant. Like Reinhardt does almost everything you can ask out of a hockey player except for being physical. So when you tell him to go be physical, he's just clearly waiting for something else to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying there. Let's move on to the final series here that's going on over in the East. Toronto Maple Leafs, Ottawa Senators. Toronto is up 2-0 in this series after a Max Domi overtime winner in game 2. Game 3 taking place tonight in Ottawa. So Ottawa will finally get their first home ice game in what will be 2,893 days since Ottawa last held a
Whew.
home playoff game. So, um, fully do expect Ottawa to be playing hard. Obviously, you don't want to go down 3-0. I kind of think they outplayed Toronto a good bit in game 2. It was definitely an improvement from what we saw in game 1. But again, it's one of those things where, so many guys playing for Ottawa have never been in the playoffs before, sloppy plays, unsure of the right play to make, especially in the overtime, which
Yeah.
ultimately led to the Backstomy winner. But it was definitely improvement for Ottawa. I'm not as happy about my pick of picking them to win this first round, but I did pick them in 7, so could still
I,
happen.
I think I took the Leafs in 5. Is what I think is what I did, because I remember a lot of people were taking the
Double
Sens
check here, actually.
because Leafs, right? Um, but I'm pretty sure I took the Leafs winning like emphatically, like they were just gonna almost roll over them. I think it was in 5. I think my only sweep was Devils Hurricanes, but yeah, Max Domi, like what a shot for the game winner too. Like that's
After getting dogged by Leafs fans online, like, all game. He was
well
getting
at all
ripped, and then he
season.
just silenced everyone.
All season. Like he is for stretches of the season, he has been one of their worst players, or at the very least, one of their most disappointing players for long stretches of the season. And
Mhm,
they were trying to find a line fit for him. And he is, it's so weird because he's one of those guys that he's very physical. He's a very physical player. And those guys often are kind of those power forwards that, you know, they they're not Austin Matthews, but when they put up points, it's oftentimes more goals than assists. But
mhm.
he's a heavy playmaker. He's got in his career 312 assists and only 138 goals. Like he had 8 goals in the entire regular season this year. And playoffs come around and he turns around and he takes a snipe like that. You got the right depth guys stepping up at the right times. Like that I think a lot of people are very much of the mind like it won't happen until it happens, which I very much understand with Toronto. This Toronto team, man, I I could see them going. I could see them going the distance. They're getting it from throughout the lineup, and the top of their lineup is doing really
I
well.
I
Goaltending is
could.
holding up. It's
I
the
could, and
Leafs.
again,
Any
it's
single game, it could
well,
all come apart for 4 games in a row.
and it's not
But
only that, it's you look at, again, it's not take away anything from what, Toronto's been doing, because I do think they've looked very, very good. Um, but it's also, and again, if Toronto fans want to be happy with where they're at right now, like, by all means, like, you're up 2-0, you have every right to. But for me, as someone who's, just I'm never cheering against Toronto. I'm never really cheering for them. I just want good playoff hockey. Like, if my team's not in it, I just want to see good good hockey. I don't want to see these blowout games or whatever. I just want to see the close, feisty, nasty games, because that's just fun as a neutral fan. With Toronto, though, you look at recent years, you're going up against the juggernaut Bruins for however many years. The the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers. Like, you're going up against these really good teams, and it's and this is probably, in this era of the Maple Leafs, the best team that they have constructed. That being said,
yeah,
they're now getting, by far, and no disrespect to Ottawa, but it's fair, by far the easiest matchup they've ever gotten. So
the easiest matchup they've
it's
gotten since the bubble when they faced what was it? The 18th overall in the league Montreal
Columbus.
Canadiens, or 16th. Like,
No, the first bubble year was they lost to Columbus in the play-in. But then, yeah, the actual,
oh, right, right.
where they had, like, the Canadian division, they
Yeah,
played, Montreal, yeah. Which, yeah, probably, but again, not prime Carey Price, but, like, a Carey Price that was, like, dead set on carrying that team to the cup final.
probably not prime Carey Price. with his numbers, it's you can
Could
make an
say, yeah.
argument.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those weird ones where again, I do think it is the best team that Toronto has constructed, but it is also outside of those years the easiest first round opponent that they've had. Um,
Yeah.
which is why I'm kind of on the side of like again, I did pick Ottawa, and I'd like to see Ottawa win because they deserve it, but I also do kind of want to see Toronto win because I would love to see how this Maple Leafs team would match up against either Tampa or Florida because both those teams are juggernauts, and I think that would be a not only a fun series but a good true test because I think if you are Toronto and you knock out whether it's Tampa or Florida, probably a good chance you do go to the Cup final at that point.
Yeah, it's hard to see Toronto beating either Tampa or Florida and then subsequently losing the next round. Like I could see
Yeah.
them if they beat us, I could see them losing to Vegas, Dallas, the Avalanche, probably the Jets. But
Wild.
I don't see
I'm
the
I'm I'm
Wild getting
I'm
there.
I'm gonna keep riding that Minnesota Wild bandwagon.
I love the thought of it, but realistically, I don't see it too much. But you know, is that team getting beaten by the Capitals? I think they probably take the Caps. The
Capitals is the one
Hurricanes?
team out of the Metro I
I
think
could
could beat them.
I think I could
Carolina,
only see Carolina
eh.
really.
See,
Well,
I
I
would go with Washington
realistically I could
because
see
of the
either of them, but
physicality more so and how big Washington is.
fair point. But you know what? People they're they're not a heavy team. I don't think they're as heavy as Washington or Florida, but this is not a soft Toronto team.
No,
You know,
it's not they're a soft team, but
no, it's just people have
again,
been
if it's
saying that
gonna
for a
be
long
a
time.
6, 7 game series, it does take a toll eventually. If you're the team that's constantly more on the receiving end than the giving end, eventually it does start to add up.
Yeah.
Especially because it would be in that, third round and, um, I think if you're Toronto, you definitely would rather play Tampa as fucked up as that sounds.
No, no,
I don't
I
think you wanna
100%
go
agree.
through Florida and the physicality that Florida like, I picked Tampa to go to the Cup final, so I'm rooting for them, but dream
Florida
matchup, I would love to see
Florida's the
Florida
worst
and
team to play in the
Washington.
first round in the
I would love to
NHL.
see Florida and Washington because of just I think how nasty and
That's really a
physical that series would be.
playoff series. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. Even though I think Tampa can and I'm hoping will win the series. Like I do think Florida is 32 of 32. The last team in the league you want to play in the first round. Because even if you get by them, well, you're not steamrolling Florida. You're not winning in 5. You're not winning in 4. At
Yeah.
best, you're winning in 6, and they're gonna fucking beat the shit out of you to do it. You know,
Yeah.
like they are not a fun team to beat. So a bit of a softer or a faster skill team, a team like New Jersey, they can be fun to beat if you can beat them. The Panthers, you're limping out of there like, all right, who's next? So
Yeah.
yeah,
We
eh,
survived.
yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. You survive them. And not to mention, you know, I think Tampa and Florida are very close skill wise, but Toronto just seems to have Tampa's number a little bit more than they have Florida's.
Mhm. Well, also that, yeah. With the game 2 between Ottawa and Toronto, I said it, we both said it before, with game 1, the refs were not the reason Ottawa lost. The refs are maybe a reason why Ottawa lost as bad as they did, but they're not the reason Ottawa lost. In this second game, that altercation, I'm just gonna call it altercation between Stolars and Ridley Gregg. How the fuck is that offsetting penalties?
I have no idea. Dude,
How the
it's
f how he got away with I mean, the push, fuck, whatever, goalies do that all game. But
sure,
the
sure.
slash and then dropping the shoulder into him, and then the refs are like, "Both."
Dude,
What?
it's actually unhinged. I remember because like I opened Reddit, I opened r/hockey. It's the first clip that was there at some point yesterday, and the title of the post was uh Stolars and Anthony Stolars and Ridley Gregg get into it in the crease, or have roughing against each other. It was a very, these guys are both going at it, and Stolars fucking shoves him, and then he fucking borderline punches him in the back of the head with his blocker. Low key, fucking nobody's talking about how insanely unhinged. That's a suspension in the regular season. That
Yeah.
alone. And then after that, another big push, a fucking vicious slash, a chop. Like, holy crap. And then he comes back over, and then he gets fucking bodied to the ground afterwards with a shoulder check. And then they both get roughing. I was like, he got fucking mugged, dude. He has to check for his wallet once he gets to the fucking penalty box. Like, he got absolutely mugged. And like, it sounded, judging by the comments, like it sounded like Ridley Gregg was messing around a bit before that clip started. And it's Gregg. Of course he is. That's his job. But like, all that stuff, like, to
And if
give
you want to give him,
offsetting
if
is
you want to give
wild.
Gregg 2 minutes, sure, but then give Stolars a double minor.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no way in any world that should be offset. Like it was when I saw it, I was like, wow, that is
That would be one of the most textbook double minor roughings I've ever seen.
yeah,
Especially because he beat the shit out of him well enough to earn more than 2 minutes, but he left, came back, and then ended up getting shoulder checked again. So
yeah.
like,
It was
yeah. And Gregg knew what he was.
fucking insane.
Props to Gregg, because he did not, turn around and start fighting the goalie when all this was happening. Hell, he invited it on that final hit because he did skate kind of through the crease. He did.
Yeah,
It's
went
not
straight up through the crease.
It's not an accident that he was there.
Yeah.
But also, holy shit, Stolarz, that's unhinged. Dude, you can't take the Florida out of the players. Like, he played there
I think at
last
that
year,
point,
and like,
Gregg
he knows
saw
how to
that,
play the
like,
game.
I think Gregg saw at that point that nothing was being called, so he was going back like, all right, I'll go do a quick flyby. Maybe he'll give me one more whack or something, then he'll get called. He gets dropped on his ass, and then he gets up and it's like, yeah, you're going to the box too. It's like, what? It's
Yeah. I'm a huge
insane.
goalie guy. I love goalies, but the league does need to make it at least known that they aren't afraid to penalize goalies. You
Yeah.
know?
And not
Like,
just the goalie.
yeah, like the other day when, obviously he didn't end up hitting his target, he ended up hitting his teammate, but Markstrom takes a vicious chop at the back of some dude's legs, and like at Svechnikov's legs, and like, fuck man, like, the slashing's a 2-minute minor. Like,
Yeah.
give it to him, man.
And the goalie stick is way thicker and heavier and harder than player sticks.
Yeah, it looks so much more brutal. Like, they can't even swing it the same way. They have to like kind of hold it lower down, halfway down, and then like have kind of the top of it kind of go behind their arm so that they can make it an extension of their entire arm and swing it. Because you can't just
Yeah.
swing it like a sword or a regular hockey stick, because it's too fucking heavy for that.
Yeah.
Like, they have a specific way to slash because it's so heavy. So yeah, I'd love to see it, and it's been a little bit of a trend, not an overwhelming trend, but over the past 2-3 seasons, in the playoffs particularly, the goalies have been getting a lot more bold with, you know, selling goaltender interference, going for slashes, for stuff like that. And I guess you could say everyone does in the playoffs, right? Like, that's
Mhm.
fair, but it's maybe something to keep an eye on. We might be
Yeah,
bringing it
I
back up.
agree. Refs gotta keep a close on it, and don't be afraid to just if the goalie's doing something dumb, you just give them the 2 minutes and then they learn. Then they know, all right, shit, okay, I can't be doing that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we're gonna be killing penalties because of me.
Yeah. And
Um,
like, I don't want to see these refs
yeah,
go overboard with penalties, but at the same time, when people are saying like games with penalties are less fun to watch, well, there's some really fun power plays to watch out there.
yeah,
So, you know, if you're comparing a game with 6 overall penalties to a game with 2, it's probably better to have 6 because it polices the game better, but it's still the majority fine. You know,
yeah.
it's the games where they're calling insane stuff and like, every little tripping. It's like, okay, well, now it's like we are in the playoffs. Like that didn't even affect the play. Come on now.
Yeah, but big game 3 tonight here for Ottawa.
I
If
think
you
this
win,
is going to
you
be
stay
their
alive.
win
If you,
of the series.
I think it has to be. If there's one, if they're gonna win at least one game, it's got to be this one. I think if they win this, there's life in them. If you lose this and you go down 3-0, yeah, you're cooked. That's you're honestly probably getting swept at that point. But we'll see what happens.
Maybe
A lot of
it's so
hard
weird to
learning
talk about
lessons.
Toronto.
Yeah,
Who knows how much
and
the
that's
jitters get to him, but Mitch
yeah.
Marner playing some of the best hockey of his career, and now he's doing it in the playoffs, pending UFA. This man's going to make some money.
He's looking to get paid. And for
Yep.
Ottawa, again, tough loss, but learned a lot of good lessons again in that game. Again, there's no expectations for you in this. You're finally
I don't
just in the
believe
playoffs. Just enjoy
Kachuk
it
is
and
healthy
learn.
either.
No. Well, no. We know that he's definitely not healthy, and that definitely hurts Ottawa quite a bit. Not having him at full capacity and going full steam ahead like he normally would.
Yeah. But I think that's all we got for the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, let's move on over to the West. Where do you want to?
Let's
Where do you want to
start
go to?
with did we already talk about the Jets and the Blues? I know we kind of touched on
Yeah,
them.
we kind of went over at the beginning because that was the one where we haven't had a game since the last one. So
Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about there. I will say I was not able to catch much of the second game. I don't remember if that happened while I was watching another game or what, but did you? I guess I'm just gonna ask. Did you watch that game? Did you catch most of it?
I caught parts of it. I remember I was flipping between that and the Washington Montreal. I was kind of
Right.
flip flopping between those two.
How did Connor Hellebuck
I thought
hold up in
Hellebuck
that?
looked good. I thought it was a great bounce back game from him.
21 saves on 22 shots.
Yeah, like he went out there and he did his thing. He didn't look shaky. He made some good saves. It was kind of looked like a regular Hellebuck performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, you love to hear it because, man, I know we were both texting, and I'm sure there was a lot of people talking after the first one or two periods of this series where Hellebuck let in 3 goals, and all 3 of them were shots. They were very good shots, but like not really screened, not
No,
tipped at all. They
the
just
third one he was. The third one he was
yeah.
completely
I didn't think it was, but I know you were saying it. I haven't watched it back, but I know there was at least a guy close to him, so I'm inclined to agree. But like, getting, he's not a goalie that gets beat clean a lot. You usually need a little more hands, a little more side to side movement of the puck. So for a bit, it was like, ooh, we might be witnessing a man's downfall here, but he was solid the rest of that game. He was very solid in game 2. Like, man,
Yeah, I thought the
Jets are a wagon.
Great.
And it's
Yeah,
crazy
I got
because
no
he's
issues with
really
Hellebuck
the
right
last
now
line
so
of
far.
defense too. Like,
Yeah.
he's not a amazing goalie bailing out a bad defensive system. He's a great goalie that is behind an amazing defensive system that does not leave a lot of room for teams to score goals.
Yeah, and I will say with Winnipeg, I would say because obviously every team wants to, get that first round sweep and get that extra rest. I think for Winnipeg, it's like a real motivation for them of let's sweep the Blues if we can. Let's get that extra rest because you got guys like Velarde who's still out. You got Ehlers who's out. Get that, and you're going to be going up against a Colorado or Dallas. Whatever team you get, it's going to be a tough series. Getting that extra bit of rest and having more time for all of your guys to get healthy and whatnot it would be so huge for them because of the impactful injuries. Like you've got 2 of your top 6 wingers that haven't played so far in the playoffs. So if you're able to get that sweep and you're able to get that little bit of extra rest for those guys as well as rest of the team, That would be huge for them because again, they're going into whoever they play. It's going to be a tough second round matchup for them. So, um, but yeah, I think both teams have looked good. I thought Hellebuck looked good. So,
Yeah,
curious to
despite
see the
being down
intensity the
two
Blues bring
two
tonight.
nothing, yeah, the Blues have played a really good series despite being down 2-0. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
they look like they're playing, you know, 7, 8 out of 10 playoff hockey. It's just they're going up against 9 and 10s in the first 2 games. Like, Winnipeg just looks like they're just outclassing them, and
yeah,
it's yeah, it's crazy. Like this Blues team does look good out there, but there's really nothing that the Jets aren't doing because they're even being pretty physical, like a low key physical team, not very dirty, like a couple moments, but for the most part, pretty clean, but heavy hitting. So,
yeah.
yeah, I like it's one of those teams where I watch them play and I'm like, I don't, I can't even really visualize. Like, if I was the coach, I wouldn't know what to tell my team. Like, I don't know how to beat the system they have in place. And like, I think the answer is just kind of, you need those guys that are the Nathan McKinnons. Like, that's how they got beat last year. You just need those guys that can just on a whim seemingly go out there and make other all-stars look silly.
Yeah.
Like, and unfortunately the Blues just don't really have one of those guys yet.
Yeah, they got lots of good players, but yeah, it's
They don't have the bona fide playoff level game breakers.
yeah, exactly. Let's move on to Dallas, Colorado. Dallas Stars have a 2-1 series lead despite only leading for 62 seconds in this series. Another
2 OT
overtime
winners.
winner coming off Tyler Seguin. I mean, they this was a huge win for Dallas. We talked about last episode how we were probably going to be getting Gabriel Landeskog back for Colorado. As it kind of started to seem like the plan was to have him, make his return at home at Ball Arena, and that exactly was the case. As Gabriel Landeskog did finally return to the Avalanche lineup for the first time in 1,032 days, um, and Dallas spoiled it. That was a
Yeah.
huge win for uh, the Stars again. Without Robertson, without Heiskanen, they have so many guys that are able to step up and you know take charge when need be. I thought Mikko Rantanen, even though he didn't get on the score sheet again, has been held pointless in all 3 games. I thought this game was his best game. Oh no, he did. Sorry, his
I was
first.
gonna
He
say
did.
I
He
thought he got an
assisted
assist.
he got an assist on the overtime winner. My bad on that one. But I thought all things considered, it was his best game of the series. I thought he looked a lot more noticeable. Um, Very noticeable when Landeskog made that first big hit and took him out.
Yeah, like maybe 20, 30 seconds into the game, just absolutely levels him. I mean, levels is a bit much, but because they were kind of skating in the same direction, he didn't really stop them or go into the boards, but he kind of blew him up a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's so weird watching Rantanen play because he looks like he should be freaking Eric Lindros out there. He's got so much skill, but he's also this absolute. Well, they literally call him Moose. Is his
Yeah.
nickname because he's so big out there. But he looks like he so often forgets how to skate. It's absolutely bizarre watching him. He's so clumsy on his skates sometimes, and he's just that good of a player despite all of that.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
the Avs have been really keeping his numbers down, and like you said, they've had the lead for the vast majority of the series, but like it's
And
hard
more
to
than
say, especially
anything,
against the
like,
Avalanche, that they're not coming up in the clutch moments. But the way the first 3 games have gone, that's kind of the case. They aren't getting the overtime goals that they're looking for,
and they've
and
and they've you know they've are could be in prime position to be up 3-0 in this series. You go back to game 2. Colorado gets a power play with like a minute and a half left in the game, tie game. You could end it there at the end of the third period or at the start of overtime on the power play. You go to game 3 with like, I don't even know how much time is left. I wonder if I can find it here. There was like maybe a minute left and 40 seconds left in the third. Marchman gets a double minor for high sticking. You've got 40 seconds at the end of the third period, or you've got 3 minutes and 20 seconds in overtime to go out there on the power play and win it. And Dallas shuts the door, especially, well, not only Ottinger, because Ottinger's looked fantastic, but Esa Lindell. I mean, Lekkonen's got a free chance at empty net there, and Lindell makes the block there to keep it out. And a few minutes later, Dallas scores, and just like
Yeah.
that, they're up 2-1 now. That was what you needed. You needed to steal at least one game in Colorado, and you did that. So, if you can go out there and get game 4 and go up 3-1, even better for them. And if you lose, we got the split. That's at the end of the day, that's what mattered most, is at least just winning one of those 2 games in Colorado.
Yeah, and not for nothing, the guy who sets up the overtime winner to Sagan, Mason Marchment, the guy who took that double
Yeah.
minor. Like this this team is so deep up front. They have so many weapons, and if they keep going in these playoffs, at some point they're probably going to add back in a guy the level of Jason Robertson. A couple of seasons ago, he had 100 points, right? Like,
And he's now turning into one of the better defensive forwards.
yeah, he's one of the better two-way players in the game right now, and put up 80 points, 35 goals over all 82 this year. Honestly,
And Heiskanen is still,
and Heiskanen.
you had
Like,
Heiskanen, one of the best defensemen in the league. You like to have those 2 guys and you're out and you're still up 2-1. And again, it's a good call. It's a really good Colorado team, and you're not throttling them, but you're finding ways to win those games when maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you look at all the stats, like there's no way we should have won this game, but you find a way to win. That's what makes a good team. Even if you're having an off night,
it
even if you're
is.
getting outplayed, having that ability to still pull a game out, pull a rabbit out of hat, and be like, "Hey, we found a way to do it." That's what makes Stanley Cup winning teams. So
It really
it's
is.
very impressive for Dallas so far. And if you're Colorado, I mean, you got to bear down here for game 4.
Yeah, like I love what you're saying about the cup winning teams, like those cup champions being those types of teams that can just find ways to win when it feels like they shouldn't. Like, you need to be able to be like, oh, Wyatt Johnston had a down night, but Sagan and Ben went off, so it's fine. Or Ottinger stole us this game. Oh, now it was Heiskanen's turn. Like, if you can keep trading it off, like, you're always winning. And yeah, this team definitely can do that. And it's definitely not something a lot of people have been talking about because of the injury to Heiskanen and now to Robertson. But this team, other than that, very healthy team. Like, I'm just looking at their their season stats. Rantanen, 82 games played. Duchesne, 82. Robertson, 82. Wyatt Johnston, 82. Mikhail Granlund played 83. Jamie Benn, 80. Dadonov, 80. Eslindell, 80. Like, a lot of their guys. Cody Ceci played
Cody
85.
Ceci? 85, yeah.
Like, a lot of their, like, all the guys that didn't play a full season, I imagine they might have been injury, but a lot of them might have been scratches. Like, Matt Dumba, 63, is his first name even Oliver? No, Oscar Back played 73. Like, all their top guys have played pretty much the entire season. Harley played 78. Like,
and
other than these recent injuries, they've been a very healthy team, which does help.
And the last thing I'll say on Dallas is, when we talk about them, nowadays we're talking about the Rupe Hintzes, who I think we're still waiting to see when Rupe Hintz, pops off here. But we're talking about Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, Heiskanen, Wyatt Johnston, all these guys, Rantanen. To win a game in Colorado 2-1 where You're getting tucks from Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, your 2 veterans, like, that's huge. To get a game where your youngsters are your new core is kind of having maybe a bit of an off night, or they're just getting shut down, or bounce aren't going their way. For your 2 veterans to go out there and be like, put the team on their back, like, that's huge. That's a really big thing for Dallas, I think, is like the veterans are showing, like, that they can still get it done, and
They're not
they can
just
pick up
along
the
for the
slack
ride
if
to pick up a ring.
yeah, exactly, right? Like, that's huge for them, so, um,
Yeah, you're not going to be able to hold those top 2 lines to 0 points in a lot of games. So,
yeah,
for them to do that and then the Stars still win, yeah, that had to be a really good feel good win for the Stars.
yeah. I will say they gotta work a bit on that. Well, I mean, their penalty kill went 6 for 6. I thought the Nichushkin goal was, or was that, oh, maybe that was 4 on 4. Nichushkin's goal was just what a collapse in the defensive zone by Dallas. That was, not a good look for them, and just a great overall play by Nichushkin as well, for the
Yeah.
patience to hold on to it. I thought was, one of the more fun goals, honestly, I saw this year.
Yeah. And you know what? That's definitely something they could work on. You don't want to be giving up 6 power plays a game to a team like the
Yeah.
Avalanche. That's where they will absolutely kill you. So I don't expect their power play to stay at 100% like that. But you know, don't give them the chance to make their power play the turning point for the series.
Yeah, it's just a highlight thing of, like, you give this Colorado team 6 power plays, and your top, 2 lines don't your young guys don't get anything. You shouldn't win this game, but again, you they found a way to. You're killing off a double minor in the final minutes of the third and the first 3.5 minutes of overtime. You shouldn't win this game, but you do, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Doesn't matter how you win, as long as you get that win. Um, for Colorado, Blackwood has looked really good. He
Yeah.
is he has proven why they went after him, why he was kind of the missing piece when they were having some early on struggles. He has come in and been, I think, more than what they were expecting. He has been
More than
that.
almost anyone expected. Like, my God, he's been great for them. And we talked about how throughout the year Dallas has been healthy. The exact opposite over in Colorado. They've had so many injuries. Like, they've played so many different people throughout the season. Like, the fact that they're here and still in the series is incredible. Just the resilience they have there, but it really does
Mhm.
feel like that's starting to catch up to them a bit. A lot of their depth guys are, you know, the ones that they didn't acquire at the trade deadline are looking a little more banged up than some of the guys throughout a lot of the other series. And they've got a lot of miles on them. They've gone deep in the playoffs a lot.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and again, this is still a good Colorado team. They've still got the studs up front,
how
a
far
lot
into
deeper than they
overtime
were.
did they go last night?
5.5 minutes.
So not very long into overtime.
Yeah, no, not very long at all.
Okay, because Nathan McKinnon had 3 seconds more time on ice than Cale Makar. He had 29 minutes and 22 seconds of time on ice.
Yeah, he played a lot in that game, and
If
bounces just
there's
weren't going
anybody
away.
who
He had
can take
9
those
shots
minutes and
on
deal
net.
with it, it's probably him. But man, even if you beat Dallas, if you're playing him that much, and he's busting his ass every time. He's not coasting out there. He's
Yeah,
skating through people. If he's doing that 20, 28, 29 minutes a night throughout the entire playoffs, at a certain point, something's got to give, and I don't know if it's going to be the opposition.
and I do imagine numbers
That's riding him
probably a
hard.
little bit inflated because they did have 6 power plays. Um,
That
but
is true.
still, yeah, like, to be playing
That
that
is true.
much this early on is pretty absurd, and again, there's, McKinnon's one of those guys that can do it, but y you would like to be in a position where you're not having to rely on, McKinnon, Makar to play half the game every
Yeah.
day because
Yeah, the whole
eventually
point of the deadline
it
was so
adds up.
that they could maybe bring that down a little bit and get a little bit more scoring through some fresh legs throughout.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
both
it's
teams look really good. Like it's Dallas is up 2-1 the series, but it just as easily could be 3-0 for Colorado. So it's a big game 4 in Colorado. Helps they have Landeskog back. I'm sure that's great for the vibes in the locker room, on the ice, on the bench, all of that. That's a huge boost for them, and they're gonna have a lot to prove in game 4 here.
yeah. This feels like the series to me at the moment that is the most could go either way
Yeah,
still, you know? Like
yeah, by far.
it feels like the most dead even series uh that we have at the moment, despite there being
I would agree.
series that are 1-1.
Yeah. Speaking of series, that's 1-1. Vegas Golden Knights, Minnesota Wild. Minnesota Wild come out in a late game on Tuesday, and they win it by a score of 5-2. They got up to a 3-0 lead in the first period, end up making it 4-0, and they go on to win the game 5-2 in Vegas. This was a really good game by the Minnesota Wild. And Kirill Kaprizov especially was
Especially Kaprizov and
proving that he is a top 10
Kaprizov's
player in this league. Probably top 8 in my opinion.
100% at least top 10, and his passing is so good that it's overshadowed how good the finishes have been on all his passes by generally Matt Boldy. Like those two
Mhm.
together are a nasty combo. Who plays on that top line with them? Is it I want to say Sabanajad, but I know that's not right.
Zuccarello.
Zuccarello. It's the other
Um,
guy with the Z last name.
no, Eric Sinek. Eric Sinek's actually centering Boldy and Kaprizov.
Oh, really? Interesting. I kind of like that outlook for them more into the future,
Yeah,
but
it's a good top line.
I I I'm trying to think of a way to talk about this game without I so bad just my brain just will not allow me to not say this phrase. They freaking got Vegas's asses, man. They just went out there and they got their asses. They went out in the first period and they fucking dogged them in their barn. Like,
And Aiden
bro,
Hill, I mean,
nobody
played.
thought that Minnesota. Sorry, anyone other than you, Brundy, didn't think that Minnesota had much of a chance in this series.
Yeah. I will say though,
They
Minnesota did win this game 5-2, but Vegas did outshoot them 32-17. Minnesota had 10 shots in the first period and a combined 7 in the second and third period. So Minnesota wasn't really getting the shots. Aiden
A
Hill in the
little a
first,
little bit of parking the bus probably, which
yeah,
I mean, you can definitely argue is a bad strategy because how often do we see teams do that and then lose?
yeah. And Aiden Hill was fantastic in the first 8 minutes, making some terrific saves. The announcers were all over him, glazing him, and then I think maybe they did a little bit too much because then before you know it, kind of boom. Um, Costco guys, 3-0 Minnesota at the end of the first, and they just held on to it.
That's crazy that you thought of the Costco guys and not that boom 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 song.
Isn't that Costco guys?
No, that song's been out for like 15 years. Who is that? Probably the Black Eyed Peas or something.
Oh yeah, okay. I know what song yeah, I know what song you're talking about now. Yeah. Costco guys
I,
should remake
I
that
even
song.
said it like the song and he still thought it was Costco guys.
Dude, I've
Anyway,
just been watching so much Costco guys lately.
they changed the game for as far as booms go.
Yeah. But Vegas still played well, but it's Minnesota came out and they were like if they were treating it like it was a must win game. Like they were down 3-0 and um they brought the physicality. They were they didn't get a lot of shots in it, but it wasn't due to lack of trying. It was just a lot of block shots by Vegas. Like Vegas was playing a good defensive game. Um Only one penalty in the game. Vegas didn't get any power plays. Minnesota only got one. Vegas did kill it off. Uh, Both teams pretty physical. It's just one of those games that
Yeah.
Minnesota wanted it more at the end of the day. They
Yeah,
found a
it
way to get those goals. They found the break, the slight mistakes by Vegas and the slight breakdowns, and we're able to capitalize on it. Kaprizov, that saucer pass, still just
Just
one of
filthy.
the most insane passes I've ever seen. Like, that's like prime Eric
Eric
Carlson saucer
Carlson.
right
Yeah.
up the middle, right to the guy, right on the stick for a breakaway, and oh, so good.
So good.
Thomas
I
Hertl looking really good for Vegas too. 2
Yeah,
goals
he's
so
been
far in the series,
might
putting
be
that big ass to
might
work.
be their best player so far. Maybe you can argue Aiden Hill for sure, but I'd probably
Hertl's
say
been he's
Hurdle's
been
their
very he's
best.
been very noticeable. Yeah. And for years in San Jose, he's one of those guys that he likes to score goals in the plus and likes to score big goals, and he's at a goal per game right now. So fully expecting him to be one of the guys leading the charge for the Golden Knights, especially that March or so. He was a big playoff guy for them.
Yeah. Well, now he can be a big golfer right now.
Fuck
Shout
Nashville.
out to JT Miller. Apparently, he's trying to get into some professional golf tournament right now. Apparently,
Yeah, I read something like that.
he's in like the final cuts of a tournament, and he's still in it. So
Yeah, good
you
for
know,
him.
it's it's pretty funny to see a guy miss the playoffs and immediately go into a golfing tournament. But you know what? Hey, if you got nothing else going on,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't really have much more to say on this. Again, it was, it, I, the score kind of makes it look like it was a lopsided game, but I still think Vegas had a very good game, and this is still series is far from over.
yeah,
Um,
it wasn't incredibly dissimilar to the Tampa Florida game where the probably about 35-40 minutes of it was even, if not leaning sometimes towards the losing team, but they just kind of collapsed for one period and bam, bam, bam,
yeah,
bam, 4 goals right there. I mean, you're you're kind of sewering the other 40 minutes where now you have to make up a shit ton of goals.
yeah, that's exactly it right there. Um, we do get game 3 tonight, so Minnesota getting some playoff action in their own barn here now. Won't be a super late game this time, thankfully, and we'll see what Vegas brings out now after last game. I'll see if Minnesota keeps on chugging along.
Yeah, man, after some of the things that have gone on in this series, series might be the biggest question mark for me. Like, I have no idea what's really going to happen. Like, Vegas at any moment could just be incredible and win it
Could go
out,
through
or
straight, yeah.
but if the Wild can just keep exposing the cracks in the defense that they see, then you know, like, as soon as you have a guy the level of Kirill Kaprizov and accompanying pieces around him, and they got a goaltender, like, as soon as you have those pieces, it's hard if you don't have the rest of the squad, but anything can happen.
Yeah.
Those are enough guys that you can steal games.
Yeah.
And now they got home ice advantage.
Now they got home ice advantage. Um,
Underrated
last
home
up,
barn as well in Minnesota.
yeah. State of hockey.
They're
State of hockey.
state of hockey.
And the last series up on the board here, the final one over in the West, the LA Kings and Edmonton Oilers. The LA Kings take both games 1 and 2 at home, winning game 2 by a score of 6-2 over the Edmonton Oilers. What are your thoughts here on
Holy shit.
where we're at with this one?
Like, dude, like, fuck. If I was saying that the Minnesota Wild came out and got Vegas's asses, I mean, I don't even know what adjectives I want to say about the Kings over the Oilers. Like, they've been absolutely dumpstering them. Like, they just at will dominating them. And of course, in game 1, insane comeback from the Oilers to tie it up, only to lose not even in overtime yet. This game was you know, a lot of the same of game 1, really, but without the comeback. Oh, I have no idea. They're
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely
Edmonton was
they're absolutely
knocking on the
crushing
door
them.
of a comeback. Edmonton does go down again 3-0 in this game, and they do get 2 goals. They do make it a 3-2 game, so it's like, "Oh, shit, here's the comeback." You've got, 16 minutes left in the 3rd period, you're down by 1, game's wide open, anyone's game, and before you know it, LA fires right back to make it 4-2, and then a couple minutes later, they get another one on the power play to make it 5-2, and it's like, "Alright, this one's over," and then 2 minutes after that, the Kings get another one, and it's like, "Well, shit, it was just a one-goal game," and before you know it, it's a 4-goal, um, lead for the Kings again all of a sudden in the span of
And
5 minutes, like
like you said earlier with was it the Stars that you these great teams just find a way to win and stuff? Like that's 2 games in a row against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl that this Kings team has, you know what? You got some of the best players in the world, the best player in the world on your heels, absolutely charging, and you hold your ground, you stay calm, and you go out there and you score right back, and they weather the storm. Like that's what winners do. And
Connor McDavid held pointless in this game as well. Draisaitl
yeah,
did get a goal from, returning John Klingberg, um, but nothing for McDavid in this one.
yeah, and that's huge. I mean, kind of a not an incredibly nuanced or individual take, but you got to shut down the best player in the world when he's on the opposing team, and they did that this game. And how is Edmonton supposed to win if McDavid has 0 points and the other team scores 6 goals? Fuck, are you
Yeah,
supposed to do?
can't nothing you can really do.
Yeah,
No.
Leon, score for us until your knees give out, like it until your back gives out. Like it's just not going to happen. So I still can't count out this Oilers team. They've beat them 3 years in a row. We know the talent they have, but
Mhm.
this is the least confidence I've had in them in any of those 4 seasons
Yeah,
in the
Edmonton
playoffs.
Oilers only once in their franchise history have they, come back from being down 2-0 in a series. I believe that was 2006. So if you're good
Almost
with your
came back
hockey
from three.
history, could be could be a good sign potentially for the Oilers. Um, Adrian Kempe, 4 points in that game. Kopitar, 4 points. Kuzmenko, 2. The biggest thing with this game, was the special teams. You look at the last 3 years of this series and the Oilers' power play, I think 3 years ago, they were like something
They might
stupid. It was like 45%,
they
then it
might have
was
been over
like
50. Like it's insane.
53%, and then like 51 last some just insane numbers. And the biggest thing for them last year in the playoffs was their penalty kill. It just what was it, like 32 penalties in a row they killed off or something? Like something
I think it was
ridiculous.
through like 2 different series.
Yeah.
Like they went like 10 games without a power play goal against. Like it was nuts.
Yeah, and then last night, Edmonton's power play 0 for 3. LA's power play 3 for 5. LA dominated in the special teams department. So, which is usually a battle that if you're the Oilers, you're usually winning the special teams battles. And the fact that the Kings were able to dominate that way is not a good sign, but again, could eat with this Oilers team, it could easily flip around next game and these numbers could be reversed in Edmonton's favor.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Stanley Cup final last year. Florida dominant through the first 3, winning all those games. Looks like they're going to sweep the final. Bam bam bam. It's tied up. Like
Yeah, and now you got to win game 7 by 1 goal.
yeah.
Like
Like it man, like this team
tough day to be a Skinner.
more than any team in the league because of those top guys. If they just decide fuck you and have that attitude at any given moment, you got to watch out.
Yeah. Tough day
But
to be a Skinner for Edmonton though. Jeff Skinner, one game removed from playing his very first game in the Stanley Cup Playoffs, is a healthy scratch, and Stuart Skinner being pulled after the 5th goal, and Calvin Pickard comes in uh, to allow the 6-1.
yeah. And
Tough day to be a Skinner.
yep. Tough day for it. Can't say I blame them on either front. I think Jeff Skinner especially could use that little bit of extra time to, maybe think about how he's going to approach game 3. I don't blame Stuart Skinner. He's a goalie. He's fine goalie. He's been put in a bad situation. They're not playing good defense, and fuck, he's trying his best. What's he supposed to do? You can't just look at any starting goalie and be like, "But I want you to be Dominic Hasek." Well, that's not how
Mhm.
it works. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's just
if
kind
you
of
wanted
a
Dominic Hasek,
bad
you had to go out and pay
mixture.
for him.
Yeah, like Skinner, I think if you put him in on one of these other great defensive teams, I think will be fine. Um, again, could he play better? Absolutely, yes. But you look at a lot of these in the situations he's be putting in, it's like, I mean, fuck, what do you want him to do at this
Three
point?
power
Like,
play goals.
yeah, like what do you want more? Well, I mean, obviously, I know what Oilers fans want more from him, but the way this team has played in games 1 and 2, especially defensive, it's like what can you expect from him? You can't expect him to only allow 1 goal and you win this game 2-1. You can't expect him to put a shutout, like,
One of the biggest things we talked about going into this series is how much Edmonton is going to miss Matthias Ekholm.
yeah,
That was one of, if not the biggest key point we talked about, and we still might have undersold it.
yeah, I think we
Like,
did.
like this is like, yeah, he might. It's insane to say he might have been a bigger loss than if they didn't have Draisaitl.
Honestly,
I
as
wouldn't say
crazy as
over
that sounds,
McDavid, but like
I agree.
they're getting killed on the penalty kill. They've dropped 6 goals to the other team in both games so far. I mean, he's your best defenseman, and he's one of the few guys who plays good defense as a defenseman too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they need him something fierce. I know he's like crazy injured, and I do believe they already said he won't play in this series, so they probably won't. But might have been smart for them to not say that part out loud in
Yeah.
case they really want to push the envelope, and if they're want to use him in game 3 or 4, because
Mhm.
even if he's not 100%, fuck, he's got a better defensive IQ than anyone else on that team.
Yeah, I I would I would agree there.
But
Um, really, the only thing I left I can say is obviously Edmonton's got to. I think you and first of all, LA proving that again they're the best home team for a reason. Like they've clearly showed it here to start this off. Um, if you're Edmonton, well, I mean, you got to win at least one to keep the series alive. But in the ideal world, you probably want to get games 3 and 4. I did say LA in 7, but it was the home team does win every game. So if
you're
we're
on
sticking with
pace.
the theme of that, Edmonton wins game 3 and 4. Um, we know that they can come back down from 3-0, but in the first round to start the playoffs off, you probably don't want to go down 3-0. Um, so I do expect this like Big Dave and Drysdale and these guys to be flying in game 3. And for the Kings, they did the exact opposite of game 1. They had that 4-goal lead and they found a way to piss it away. They were up 3-0 before they knew it. It was a 3-2 game, and instead of crumbling even further, they stepped on the gas even more and were able to um, propel that and pot 3 pretty quick goals and seal the game there. So that shows that LA learned a lot from game 1.
Yeah, yeah. I It's not much more to say. It's really we'll just see if they can shore up their special teams. Need to draw a few more penalties as well, I think, and it's tough because you know you just don't have much of a reason to trust their depth on Edmonton. Like,
Hmm.
it's really just like, what can you ask for as an Oilers fan other than McDavid, please go out and score 5 points. Okay, next game, go out there and please score 5 points. Like, like that's unrealistic, but also that's kind of their path to victory.
Yeah.
It's that's rough.
But I don't really have much left on that series. This is probably a series again, even though it is 2-0 for the Kings. Probably far from over given this Oilers team and what we've seen over recent years. And again, it is hard to count out McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
But that does wrap up all.
I was gonna say, did you have something at the end here?
Yes, I do got something here. Yeah. So we can move on to our final segment that does wrap up all of our playoff coverage here. Again, we will be back next week on Tuesday to discuss all of the games over the playoffs and potentially maybe some series will be wrapped up. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. But to wrap this one up with our final segment, I have another categories here for you. If you're unfamiliar with this game, I have a category here and I've got 5 players this time. 4 players fit the criteria, 1 player doesn't. It is up to Braden to figure out who the odd player out is and why they are the odd player out. What makes these other 4 all in the same bubble together. Braden, are you ready?
I am ready.
And again, I always do have a hint available if you do need one. But the 5 players I have for you today is Mitch Marner,
Mitch Marner.
Mark Scheifele, Nikita
Okay.
Kucherov, Jack Eichel, and David Pastrnak.
We got a star-studded event here. Sorry, so that's Mitch Marner, Mark Scheifele, Nikita Kucherov. Who are the other 2?
Jack Eichel and
Eichel
Pastrnak.
and Pastrnak. Whew. All right. That's so we got obviously no defensemen, no goalies, as long as Marner's still forward.
He is, yes. He is a forward.
Yeah. They got we got Stanley Cup champions in Kucherov and Eichel. Pastrnak does not have one. We got a winger for Marner, Kuch, Pastrnak. I believe Scheifele's a center. I know Eichel is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think too many of these guys are getting a lot of Selke votes. I know some of them have in the past. I have not ever swept this this game. This has been the one where I've not been able to get it yet. So
You are correct, yeah.
there is a chance that he might be giving me a little bit of an easier one. Comparative. Marner.
I would say that out of the ones we've done, I think this one probably is the easiest.
Okay. So where I'm going with this is Mitch Marner just hit 100 points this season. Kucherov has definitely hit 100 points multiple times. Pastrnak, I believe, had at least 100 this season. Probably has in seasons past. I don't know if Mark Scheifele has. Probably not. Jack Eichel. Does Eichel have a 100-point season? The big question. He's been really good the past 2 seasons, but I kind of feel like he's never hit 100. But I don't think Scheifele has either. So that's probably not it. Scheifele
I do kind of like the thought process that you're on, though.
Scheifele was a first-round pick. Marner was a first-round pick. Pastrnak was, and Eichel both were. Kucherov was a second-round pick. I believe all of those are correct. So it might be just that Kucherov is the only non-first-round pick in the lineup. It's like Marner was like top 5 or top 10. Eichel was second. Pastrnak, I think, was 25. I think Scheifele was somewhere in the top 10-ish.
I think Scheifele was 7 in his draft year.
Oof. robbery. And then they were all in vastly different years. Kucherov and Scheifele might be around the same time. Pasternak,
I think
Eichel,
both
Marner were
20,
later.
2011 for those two. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I it's so weird because once you've got one that like you think it could be like because like the Kucherov being the only second rounder, I'm pretty sure is right. But like if that's not the one you were thinking of, then how where do I go from there?
Yeah, I get what you mean though. Yeah,
I'm not seeing much. I mean, individual awards, Kucherov has some for sure. Pasternak, I believe, has split a rocket with Ovechkin. I don't think Scheifele would have any. I'm pretty sure Eichel doesn't. Marner doesn't, unless any of them won a Calder. I don't think any of them won the Calder. Marner might have, but I don't think the other two did.
I
yeah,
don't believe any have a Calder.
I'm not entirely sure if it's something along those lines, but Scheifele, Eichel, both in the Western, the other three in the East.
Remember, you always do have a hint if need be.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go for it. I think it's Kucherov is the only non-first round pick here.
Fine, Lancer, locking it in.
Locking it in.
Unfortunately, it is a score of 0 for you today.
Oof. Was I at least correct in my assessment of that being true?
Yep.
Even if
in that case you are correct. The category was players who led their team in points this season.
Oh.
And, Mark Scheifele being the only one to not leave
Kyle
their team as
Connor.
Kyle Connor did. Yeah.
Right. Oof. That makes sense. I think for doing this one in the future, if I have not used my hint, if I make a guess, maybe that'll be like my extra life. Maybe it'll only be an extra life, like if mine is still correct, but not what you were thinking of. Like if I'm just like straight up wrong, then
I kind of like that.
That's kind of whatever.
Maybe implement that into the future when we do this. But that is the end of this episode. If you figured it out at home, make sure to let us know. If you want to, or if you did, you can let us know. Any of our socials, they are down in the links to all of our socials across all episodes, across all platforms. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. If you haven't been watching the playoffs, turn them on. They're a lot of fun to watch. Even if your team is not playing, hell, especially if your team's not playing, it's just fantastic hockey across the board. Like there really have not been any boring games to watch. Like even the most boring ones of these playoffs have been absolutely fantastic hockey. So if you're listening to this, you're clearly a hockey fan. Do yourself a favor. Find some time. They're spreading these games out like crazy. There's going to be a game on whenever you want to watch it, unless it's like early in a weekday. Go watch some hockey.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. We're getting fantastic action across all series, honestly. All have been very good so far. But that does wrap it up for this episode. Once again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. And as always, we will see all of you guys out on the ice next week.